Good evening. For those who don't know me, I'm Rob Severance. I'm the police chief in Cleburne, Texas. I want to welcome you to our open carry forum. This is quite an impressive number of people we have here for it. So I want to introduce a few people that I have up here on the stage with me. We have Lane Rugeley, who's our city prosecutor, Sheriff Bob Alford, Assistant Chief Danny Rogers, and Corporal Brian Proctor. We also want to recognize members of our Police Reserve Force, Citizens Police Academy alumni, and our city and conference center staff for their help. As a reminder, please silence your cell phones. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide information on how the new open carry laws can affect the public, businesses, and law enforcement. This is not a political debate on the merits of the law. That was debated by our legislature, and the law was already passed. There will be an opportunity to ask questions after the presentation. We'll only be able to address specific questions, not opinions. Okay, our presenter tonight is Corporal Brian Proctor. Brian has served the citizens of Cleburne since 2001. He also served with the United States Air Force Security Forces for 8 years, which included deployments to South America, Afghanistan, and surrounding areas of operations, and New Orleans for Hurricane Katrina. Currently, he serves as the corporal in the Community Services Unit, which oversees sex offender compliance, school resource officers, the Citizens Police Academy, Citizens on Patrol, Police Explorers, and more. Just a few things. Corporal Proctor holds an advanced peace officer certificate. He's a certified law enforcement instructor, as well as a Department of Public Safety licensed to carry instructor. Please join me in welcoming Brian Proctor.
Now that I'm thoroughly embarrassed. And I do apologize for the music, the intro music in the beginning. I asked to play the Cops theme song, but they said no. But my name is Brian Proctor. I've been here since 2001. I've also been a licensed to carry, or CHL, previously for about 5 years now. I typically teach in the Cleburne, Fort Worth area. And lately, obviously, there's been a lot of interest and a lot of influx in what we've been dealing with, and a lot of questions. And so when Chief Severance asked me to put together some kind of forum like this, I actually went around and I watched and looked at other departments and how they were doing their forums and some of the information that was coming out. Unfortunately, what was coming out, I'm not going to say it's misinformation, but it was a little early. As the legislature put this stuff together, they didn't exactly write it in the form of how is it going to be enforced. They just kind of did it and they did it, and there's no way of going back. So a lot of the stuff we're going to learn about today and tonight, and the questions that we're going to answer, we may not have answers to those. The way it was done, there's a lot of little gray areas, and a lot of that's going to be decided by case law. Case law is basically when somebody challenges something and it goes through the adjudication process, and then whatever the final judge and decision goes, that's how we go forward from there. The key is, for at least us, and I think most everybody would know, this is a giant game of musical chairs, and no one wants to be stuck with their name attached to that case law. It's an expensive process, and it's a process that nobody wants to be a part of. So we're going to kind of explain how a lot of this stuff is going to happen, and a lot of what this means starting on January 1st. So a little bit about the CHL. The CHL law was passed in 1996 and active. As of December 31st, 2014, again last year, there were 825,957 active CHL licenses out there. That is not how many people have previously filed. That is people who are currently active with their licenses. I can guarantee you that that has increased by at least 100,000 just this year alone. At least. And I'd be surprised if it was even more than that. Prior to January 1st, 2016, so 2 days from now, all license holders that were CHL license holders, meaning handguns must be carried in a concealed manner, That's how it was prior to 2 days from now. As of December 31st at 11:59, clock strikes midnight on January 1st, the concealed handgun license is changing to the license to carry. Some of y'all who recently took the class, you may have already gotten your license that say license to carry. They've already started kind of issuing those out. If you have a CHL license in your back pocket, on January 1st, you are migrated into the license to carry. There's no additional training, there's no additional anything that you need to do. When you renew, you will renew, as of now there's no class or anything, you will renew and you'll get a license that says license to carry. There's nothing you have to do. That's probably the most common question that I get is, what do I have to do now? Nothing. That's the answer, absolutely nothing. If you have a current CHL, it's still current, and it's just officially now called a license to carry. If a licensee is openly carrying a handgun after January 1st, you are allowed to do that if you have a current CHL, and there's certain rules that we'll go over. The handgun must be secured in a belt or shoulder holster. Has to be secured in a belt or shoulder holster if you are openly carrying a handgun. Now, what is a belt holster? It's pretty simple. That is a belt holster. It is a holster that attaches to your belt. Now, that's my interpretation of what a belt holster is. The legislature did not tell us what a belt holster is. They did not. So, again, where is that going to be decided? Case law. Now, if you want to go around carrying a flip-flop on your belt and put your gun in it, and you want to be the person that challenges that, then go right ahead. But I wouldn't advise it. It's not going to be pretty for anybody. So a lot of this stuff you'll see is common sense. So just we're all going to try to use common sense in dealing with this stuff, and hopefully within the 6 months to a year it will shake out. If not, the legislature hopefully will address it in 2 years when they meet. But it's just what we have to deal with right now. Now, what is a shoulder holster? That is a typical example of what shoulder holsters are. Again, if you want to strap some ropes to your shoulder and hang your gun from it, I don't know. They did not define that, but I don't suggest it's a good idea. We're talking about safety here. That's the main thing. That's what the legislature is concerned about, safety. The main part about safety is not only having it secured on your person so somebody can't grab it from you, it is so that you have control over it as well. So it's a two-pronged deal. We as police officers, most of the days I'm running around in a nice button-up shirt with slacks on, and I basically wear a belt holster. And so I have to be cognizant, and let me tell you, it's not fun, by the way. I have to be cognizant all the times where I'm at, where my gun is, how is it, make sure nobody's around me that can grab it and all that kind of stuff. And I've had years of training to deal with something like that. Most everybody in this room, I would say, probably has had years of training, and it's hard for me. So just be very cognizant. Look at your belt and shoulder holsters out there, what kind of security they have. The higher security, the better. We typically roll around, the one I have on here today is a level 2. You've got to do things to get it out of the holster. They've got level 3s and so on and so forth. So, where can you not carry a handgun? Now, if you do not have a license, you can carry a handgun in your home, auto, and workplace if your workplace allows it, as long as you meet 4 points. You cannot carry openly in any of those. You cannot be a gang member. I have a registration. We have some on our website if you would like to register for one. I'm kidding. Cannot be open. Can't be a gang member. It cannot be used, or you cannot have it with you if you're committing a criminal act. And the typical criminal acts that we see with people carrying a handgun is intoxication offenses. This does not include traffic offenses. So you can have a gun in your car as long as you meet these points, and you can speed, and it's not a violation of any kind of handgun law. However, what we see is DWI, people drinking, having guns in the car. That happens on occasion. Open containers as well. Not drunk, but drinking when you're in your vehicle. So that's typically what we'll see. So as long as you meet those kind of points, you're okay. Now, we're talking about licenses today. So if you have a license, you cannot carry on the physical premise of a school or educational institution any grounds or building on which an activity sponsored by a school or educational institution is being conducted. This includes a school bus, school transportation vehicle, places like that. This does also include, like the football game at the Rock. Now, one of the questions that's been posed to me a lot is, guess what they do right here in this room? Sometimes they do graduations, or they do proms in the next room next door. At the time, that is a grounds of an interscholastic event. That does count as a place you cannot carry your gun. So just be cognizant of that. Yes, it does have to be posted for the most part, not always. Again, the law is very vague on this. So just be cognizant of that, of are you entering a school facility or a place where an interscholastic event's happening? Another location that we're still trying to get some answers on is, how does that affect the sports complex? Because you can have interscholastic events going on at a sports complex and a friendly game of soccer on the other field. So is one field an interscholastic event? Is one field a soccer game? We don't know. And we don't know how far that goes to. What we do know is that you cannot openly carry on any grounds, premise or not, on any grounds that a school is on. That includes a parking lot. So if you decide to open carry, don't walk onto the parking lot. Don't get anywhere near a place that you see either signage or that you know that is an interscholastic event happening. Now again, common sense is going to reign here, hopefully, but try to be careful about that if you're open carrying. If you're open carrying a gun and you need to go around or go to a school parking lot, you better make sure that that's concealed. You can't say bomb on an airplane. You can't carry a gun around a school. It's just the way it is. You cannot carry, obviously, at all beyond the secured area of an airport. Obviously, our airport is not secure. DFW is an example. There's lots of other airports out there that have secured areas. Once you get past that secured area, it's a federal institution, so you cannot carry past there. Same thing goes with voting locations. I know we have some voting locations around the town that normally you could carry a gun in. At the time voting's going on, you can't carry a gun anywhere near there, so be careful. Now, the new signs. If you see a 30.07 sign, now referred as a 30.07 sign, you cannot open carry, and I'll show you what this sign looks like in a minute. You cannot carry past that 30.07 sign. Those of y'all that are current CHL holders, you used to look for the 30.6 sign. That 30.6 sign says concealed carry, cannot carry past this sign, right? 30.7 means open carry, cannot carry past this sign. So the question I always get, what if I see we prohibit concealed carry at 30.6, but I do not see a 30.7 sign? Can you carry past that sign openly? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now, common sense, if that business does not want you carrying a concealed weapon, do you think they want you to carry an open gun? All right. Yes, you can. That business owner can tell you to leave, and you do indeed have to leave. One of the issues now is the violations. The violations have dumped down to a Class C misdemeanor, which is a ticket. So if you violate this sign, you can be issued a ticket for violation of that sign. It's no more go straight to jail. However, if you're told verbally, so in other words, a business owner says you have to leave, you do have to leave. Our personal property rights still prevail in this. So that's their right as a business, as a property owner, to tell you to leave. So you got to leave. You got to respect their property rights. Now, the sign, and I highly suggest that all businesses go out there, reevaluate if you do have this sign up, reevaluate the wording on your sign, make sure it does comply, and it complies with the current language. So it has to be 1-inch block lettering. It's got to be prominently displayed at the entrance of the establishment, and that's every entrance. It can't just be at one or the back door. It's got to be at every door. It's got to be English and in Spanish, the exact wording specified in the code, and it's got to be on contrasting colors. So it can't be like you got a tinted window and you put black lettering up on it. That's not going to work. You got to have contrasting colors. Again, for enforcement purposes, who makes the decisions here? The responding officer. The responding officer is the one that makes the decision on whether or not this is appropriate or not. That can vary. So just try to make sure you stay within the law as much as you can and just use common sense. That is an example of a 30-06 sign with the new wording. So it does not have to have the gunbuster sign. Everybody know what I mean by gunbuster? Okay. It does not have to have that little red circle with a gun inside of it. That was just the only picture I could find of one. So it does have to have that exact wording, English and Spanish, 1-inch block lettering, and alternating colors, prominently displayed at the entrance of the establishment. 30-07 is almost exactly the same, except it says unconcealed, or it deals with unconcealed. So this would be open carry. This is the open carry sign. It's got the exact same requirements, and that's the wording. Basically, if you look on top and you see a 30-07 or 30-06, just obey it. There's no reason to start challenging this stuff. It's just going to kind of make it hard on everybody. Remember, personal property rights always win out. So, now what does this all mean? If you're licensed to have a concealed handgun on January 1st, you may openly carry. May openly carry. That is going to be the discretion of the person that has that CHL or that handgun. If you do carry, it has to be secured in a belt or shoulder holster. For businesses, what are your options? Well, you have a couple options. You can either put up a 30-06 sign that restricts concealed carry. You can put up a 30-07 sign that restricts open carry. You can put up both that restricts both, or you can do nothing. And that's totally your prerogative. Businesses, if you decide not to put up a sign, and if somebody is in your store and they're either openly or concealed carrying and you know about that, you can ask them to leave, and they have to leave. So that's your rights as businesses. CHL holders, your rights are to obey the signs. You can do what you want, but as soon as someone asks you to leave, you got to leave. And that goes for police officers on duty or off duty. If I'm walking around and somebody sees me and they don't like me, it happens. I'm asked to leave. And I got to leave. That's just the way it is. Just because I'm a police officer, I can't stay somewhere. So, and it does happen. Not that I'm asked to leave, that people don't like me. It happens. Okay, law enforcement identification. This is probably the biggest hot topic that we're getting right now, and that's going all over the state. Can law enforcement stop because you're open carrying and ask for your license? The short answer is yes. However, there is case law on both sides of this issue that says, by federal appeals court, it says, yes, a peace officer can stop just because someone's open carrying and ask for identification. There's also case law on the other side by other courts that say, no, you can't. That's an evisceration of the Fourth Amendment. I'm not here to make that decision. All I know is that has not been decided in Texas or the circuit that Texas is in. So guess who decides that? It's going to go to case law eventually. Somebody's going to, it's going to, and usually when that stuff happens, it's two hot heads getting together, right? And, you know, we'll be honest here. That's how it happens. So let's use some common sense. As far as Cleburne PD goes, Cleburne PD will take actions based on behaviors. We are not going to be randomly stopping people for solely carrying open carry. We're not going to do it. We're going to be based on behaviors. If we get a 911 call, the dispatchers are going to be asking, what is he doing illegal? What is he doing that's suspicious? Or she. Don't want to be sexist. What are they doing that's wrong? And then we will try to approach it. If we get a 911 call and somebody says there's a guy carrying a gun and hangs up the phone, we have to check that out. I think y'all would want us to check that out. Please don't get offended if we ask for your license. Now, if you believe you're being wrongly stopped and wrongly identified, what's your recourse? Do you argue it on the side of the road? Because typically that officer, if it's Cleburne, again we're talking about Cleburne, if it's Cleburne, we're going to have a reason of why we were called there in the first place. We just don't go around Walmart and picking out people and go, let me see your license. That's not how it works. We got more important stuff to do. If we get a call or some kind of information or we witness some kind of behavior that we can articulate, then we might stop and ask for your license. Okay? But as a policy, we are not going to be routinely stopping solely on open carry. Now, if you do feel like you've been wronged and you're stopped and identified and you felt like there was no reason to do that, you're more than welcome to take advantage of our complaint process. We have a complaint process with a professional standards sergeant that takes all of those up. That's all he does, and he's very good at it. If you feel like you've been charged wrongly or you want to take something to court, then that's your right and option too. So that's just your that's what you can do. You have every ability to do that, and we won't fault you for it. I'm just saying, and the chief here, we've been talking about this a lot, and the prosecutor, that we are not going to stop based on the fact that you're just open carrying. Now, as far as people out there that don't like handguns, or they're scared of handguns, or it makes them nervous or whatever, and if you feel like you need to call 911, call 911. We will take that heat. We will deal with it at that time comes. Okay? Now, if you decide you want to call 911, try to answer some questions first and try to give the dispatcher as much information as possible. Does the person have it unholstered? That's a behavior that probably we should be dealing with, because a gun should never be unholstered. If it's unholstered, guess what? There's something happening, and we probably need to be there and deal with that. Is that person intoxicated? Also a problem. You cannot be drinking and have a gun. You can't be intoxicated. And I'll refer you to the legal definition of intoxication. It's having any kind of change in your mental or physical ability. It doesn't have to be a .08. So that's not how the law reads in this regard. So if somebody's intoxicated and they've got an open gun or openly carrying gun, or they've got a handgun, then give us a call. Can you articulate the person is acting in a threatening manner? Obviously, we could use a call right there. Is the person violating a law in some way? Try to give us these details. Again, we're stopping on behaviors. We got to have some kind of behavior to deal with. We're not anticipating a whole flood of 911 calls on January 1st. We're not. But it still may happen from time to time. And if you're carrying a handgun and you're shopping for tomatoes in Walmart, don't be surprised, because there's a lot of people, honestly, that they don't even know this law exists. They don't watch the news, they don't understand what's going on, and they're going to be shopping for tomatoes right next to you, and they're going to look over and you've got a gun. And it's not going to make them feel very comfortable. And they're going to walk away and they're going to call 911. And that's fine. That's fine. Don't be offended if we come to you and say, hey, are you shopping tomatoes with a gun? Okay. You got your license? All right. Everything good here? No problems? No, I'm good. I'm shopping for tomatoes. Okay, cool. I mean, that's just how we do business. We got to ask the question. If we don't ask the question, we'll never figure out, who the real bad guys are. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open the floor to questions, because I know this was brief. We're going to try to answer these questions.